everyone, I'm TH Pine and welcome to Causality. What is Causality, you ask? I like to call it a time-traveling astronauts puzzle game. It's gonna release on the 2nd of February and this is what it looks like. So the goal of the game is to get this astronaut to the exit of the level, which is this blue tile over here. However, you cannot control him directly. Instead, you have to indirectly control him by flipping over those arrow tiles on the ground, which will make the astronaut change direction and take a different path. So he walks automatically as soon as you forward the time, and you do so by pressing and holding the left mouse button and then moving the mouse down, which will forward the time, as you can see here. You don't have to continue keep sliding, so you only move the mouse a little bit down and you keep it in that position. And the further you go down, the faster the time will traverse. And you can also move it up to reverse time. And that's actually a really interesting way of doing time manipulation. I never saw another game doing it like this, so that's really interesting to me. It works really well. It's not super intuitive, but as soon as you get used to it, it's a very comfortable way of manipulating the time. And time manipulation is really important for this game, so it's good to have a comfortable control method for that. Also, alternatively, if you prefer that, you can use E and Q on the keyboard to forward and reverse time, so that works as well. So let's solve this level really quick. We flip a few tiles around and then we forward and let the astronaut get to the exit, and there we go. We get to the next level, and now we have two astronauts, a blue one who has to get to the blue exit and a green one who has to, you guessed it, get to the green exit. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, let's forward time first a little bit, slowly, to see what happens. They run into each other and then they turn around and go back to where they came from. That's obviously not what we want, so let's reverse time and flip around this tile to make the blue astronaut go over there, and now they don't run into each other. And if we flip this tile again, they will actually go to the exit. You might have noticed this black diamond down here. That means that at this point in time, this tile will be flipped. So if I reverse now, this will not disappear. So if I go if I forward now again, you will see, bop, the tile flipped again, because it saves the state, basically. So when I pause the game and flip a tile, it will save that at this point in time the tile is flipped, and it will do so again if you reverse time and forward it again. If you want to reset the level, you press R or the button up here, and now all the black diamonds will be gone, and we have to set it up again to make the level work. Oops. There we go. And then we forward and both astronauts get to the exit, are happy, and that's the core mechanics of the game. That's the core mechanics. However, the further you progress, the more mechanics will be introduced, and it gets more complicated. For example, there are threats. So in this level, we have an alien kraken in the water who will, well, catch the astronaut and kill it, probably. He probably eats it, I guess. I'm not sure. But he's definitely dead, which means you lose the level because he cannot reach the exit anymore. You might have noticed that the first astronaut is actually passing this tile, however, without getting eaten. So why is that? Well, that's because the Kraken will only come out of the water at one specific point in time, which is marked by this question mark sign down here. So when the actual time is getting to this point, the Kraken will get out there and catch an astronaut if one is there. He will also get out if there's no astronaut. So if we flip this tile around, you will see that the Kraken comes out, but he doesn't catch an astronaut. So that's actually interesting because it doesn't block the tile completely. It just blocks it in at one specific point of time of the whole timeline, which is interesting. I really like that mechanic. That's a cool idea, and the game does a little bit more with this idea as well. So let me actually show you more mechanics by jumping a few levels ahead. Let me take a look at my notes. Level 7 is the next one I want to show you. Okay, so in this one we have a button and a switch. Or a button, I should say. A button and a block over here. And as soon as one of the astronauts is actually touching the button, the block will, well, this astronaut is getting eaten, but the button is pressed and the block will go down. Buttons are one time only. When they're pressed, and that's it. So, obviously, that's not how you solve the level, but you do it actually, it's very similar to that. We just have to make sure the green one is not dying, and then we have to make sure the blue one is getting to the exit. And there we see, and there we go, and you can see that there are the black diamonds whenever I manipulated the tiles, the arrow tiles, and if I would reverse, it will flip them back and forth again, and it will still work. There we go. The blue one gets to the exit as well, and that's this level done. So okay, I'm gonna show you more mechanics. So let's jump to World 3. Every world introduces at least one new mechanic. In World 2, that's World 2, obviously, not 3. The first one was World 1, this is World 2. And this one is the most interesting mechanics. So the first world was actually pretty dull. It was good to get used to the time traveling mechanic and stuff like that, or time manipulation, I should say. Time traveling is coming now, though, which makes the whole thing way more interesting. So this is a portal. However, it's not only a portal in space, it's also a portal in time. So when the astronaut gets in there, he will travel in the future and get out to the exit. So you might have noticed this little sign over here, this blinking sign. And this marks a point in time where the time traveling will end. Because no matter when the astronaut enters the portal, he will always exit it at this point in time. So you can see here on the diagram, with the current, with how this level is set up currently, the astronaut will enter the portal at this point in time. There we go. Oops, too quick. Go slower. There we go. He enters the portal at this point in time, and now he travels in time to the future and exits it at this point. So what happens, however, if we change the path a little bit? Let's make him move over the button first and then go into the portal. And now you see the diagram actually going backwards because the astronaut will travel backwards in time. And there we go. There is the future astronaut already now traveled to the past. And now we have two of the same astronaut, and the original one will disappear in a moment because he enters the portal at this point in time, but the other one, like, he came out of the portal before that, so he's traveling in the past. And that's a really, really cool way of doing time travel puzzles. I never saw this before. Like, there are a lot of puzzle games about time travel, obviously, because it's a cool mechanic in general, but this is a really interesting and unique way of doing it. Maybe there are other games that did it, but I don't know any. If you know one, feel free to comment below. I would be interested in seeing more games with this mechanic. So let me explain again, just to make sure. So whenever the astronaut enters a portal, it doesn't matter. He can enter whenever he wants, and you can only enter the portal once. As soon as you enter the portal, no other astronaut, or not even the same astronaut, can enter it again. It will just become a regular tile, which you can move past. And so it doesn't matter when he enters it. He will always exit it at one specific point in time, and that makes some interesting some interesting interactions with the other mechanics, and sets up some interesting puzzles. So it's a really, really cool idea. And obviously, if you combine those mechanics, you get a little bit more complicated levels if you want. So let me show you this level, for example. So this is way more complex. As you can see, there are two switches, there are two alien krakens, not switches, buttons. There will be switches later, so that's why I'm making this distinct difference here. It's a button, not a switch. So you press a button, this will put down the thing, and so we have two buttons, two alien krakens, and a time travel portal. So that makes it a little bit more complicated. And now let me jump to World 3 to show you another mechanic, and that's why I was differentiating between switches and buttons, because now we have switches. That's actually not the level I want to show you. Sorry, I'm very sorry. Taking a look at my notes told me that I'm wrong. Okay, no, this is the level. So those are switches. Switches can be pressed multiple times. So if you make this astronaut move over the switch, it will trigger this block over here, make it go down. But if he moves over the switch again, he will flip it back up and will go up there again. And now we can, for example, go to the other switch, and that will make it go down again, as you can see. So you see how this works, right? And they work similar to buttons, but different, obviously, because you can press them multiple times. And there are also levels where those blocks are connected to a switch and a button, or to two switches, for example. So there are combinations of those, yeah, it gets more complex. In some levels you want to get them down to open a path. In some levels you want them to be up to block a path, so the astronaut changes direction and goes somewhere else. In some levels you want them to be both. For one astronaut you want, or at one specific point in time you want it to be down, and another one you want it to be up. You can imagine how puzzles with this work, right? It's not that weird of a concept. Okay, there's another mechanic introduced in this world, which is broken tiles. You can see them. Those are the tiles with the lines on them. When the astronaut walks over them, they get a crack, and if he walks over them again, he falls down to his death, which is very unfortunate. But yeah, that's another mechanic introduced here. And if you actually manage to get to World 4, which is the last world, you get another mechanic. I didn't unlock that yet, so I'm not sure what it does exactly, but I saw it in trailers. There's like a shadow astronaut, and I think it consumes the other astronauts, so it seems to be a threat of some description. I'm not quite sure how it works exactly. I just saw some really short gameplay clips from the trailer. But yeah, those are the mechanics of the game. So there are 4 worlds with 10 basic levels each, or 10 regular levels, and 5 bonus levels. So you have to beat the 10 regular levels of every world to proceed to the next world. So you have to get the first 10 levels to get to the second world. And the other 5 levels, the bonus levels, are optional, however. They are a little bit more tricky as well. Let's take a look at this level. They're a little bit harder to do. And yeah, but they're optional, so that's good. I still think this is not a great solution. Like, it's always interesting how puzzle games like do their level unlocking thingies, because they all do it differently and there are different ideas. And I don't think this is a super good solution or a great solution, because you have to be all of the 10 basic levels. You cannot skip one. Like in a lot of puzzle games, you can skip a few levels for one or another reason, but you can't do this in this game. So you have to beat the 10 basic levels of every world to get to the next world, which is not great in my opinion, because if you get stuck on one, that's it. So that's a little unfortunate. Anyway, overall there are 60 levels, 4 worlds with 15 levels each. And yeah, so you will be busy for a while. Let's take a look at the option menu really quickly, shall we? Because that's really important for a game like this. Well, not for a game like this, but for games in general, for PC games, it's important to have a good option menu. So let's take a look. Separate sound sliders, so that's good. The option menu is fairly simple, but it's not super simplistic. I think it's appropriate for a game of this scale. You have language options, which are not that useful because language is only used in a menu. I mean, it's good to have it, but it would not have even been necessary, because the game doesn't require English. Yeah, it doesn't require a language. It has a colorblind mode, which is really important for a puzzle game like this. I think it doesn't work by changing the colors, which is a good idea actually. Instead, it gives the astronauts little symbols, as you can see here. The green one has a diamond now, and the blue one has an X shape, and the exits have those symbols as well, so you can easily identify where they have to go. So that's really cool. Let's take another look at the option menu. So we have video settings, we have resolution settings, which is good, obviously. We have full screen and window mode, no borderless window mode, unfortunately. I really like that mode, but only a few games have it. VSync can be turned on or off if you desire. I usually have it on for recording, but yeah, do as you wish. Obviously, that's what options are for, right? Everyone does what he wants with them. That's the point of them. And anti-aliasing options, a few. So not a lot of graphic options, but like it's a very graphically it's a very simple game, so that should be okay. Unfortunately, no key rebindings. Which would actually be useful in general. Like telling me the key bindings would be useful, because the game doesn't, like, it never mentions the key bindings. There are a bunch of them, so you can traverse time, as I explained earlier, with Q and E. You can reset the level with R, and you can use WASD to flip between the arrow tiles, and you can press space to flip them. You can use WASD to switch between them, and space to flip them. So yeah. And it's never mentioned. I just figured it out by pressing random buttons on the keyboard. You can completely control with the mouse, which works fine. But anyway, in general, there are some things I would like to see improved. Like there are some interface things. Like the diagram down here is really well done. I like it. Like with it's not a good level for demonstration, but you saw one earlier. Which one was it? I think it was level 7 of World 1 or something. Actually, no, it was level 2 of World 2, because it's about time travel. There we go. So, if we do the time travel thingy, what am I doing? No, not reversing, forwarding time. I'm doing something wrong. Oh yeah, I didn't flip this. There we go. Like this works really well. It shows you really clearly what is gonna happen, and also like the little signs for the flipping of the tiles and the danger signs and stuff like that. That works really well. I like that. However, what I would like to see is that those things are actually interactable. So if I mouse over one of those symbols, it should highlight or play a short animation or like make a link or something to the actually tile on the board this is affected. So this one should link to the arrow tile I'm actually changing at this point. And the time travel thing could point to the portal, and the danger sign could point to the tile with the monster. That's especially important if you have two monster tiles, because you don't know which one is actually linked to which one. You can't try out, it's not that complicated, but it would be a nice quality of life feature to have that shown to you. And for levels with more switches and buttons, it would be nice to have indications on, like, you can see it already. Wait, let me demonstrate. Let me show you one so I can actually explain what I'm saying. That's not a good example. Let me see if I find a better level. 4 maybe. Yeah, that's a little better. So there are a bunch of cables running around, and it's not like you can't. It's clear what is connected to what, but it's not super easy to read. Like, you cannot look at it and it's instantly clear. You have to take a few seconds to look. This is connected to this. This is going under this. Oh no, this is another tile. This is actually connected to this, and this one is connected to this. Like it's not super intuitive to see, like, in a millisecond. So what would be nice is to have a mouse over animation again. So I mouse over the switch and it will actually highlight this thing, or highlight the cable and the thing maybe. So that would be good. So that's the presentation is like, or the interface is not perfect, but it's okay. It's working well, especially the diagram down here, as I mentioned, is good. But there could be more quality of life features. And as I said, key rebindings would be great. So overall, did I like the game, or the gameplay, I should say? The game itself is well done, like, except for the few things I just mentioned. But the gameplay is good as well. It's just not my cup of tea, really. But I knew that before I even started the game, because it's one of the games, it's one of those puzzle games I like to call a closed puzzle game, as opposed to an open puzzle game. So a closed puzzle game only has a few, or a fairly small set of limited outcomes, or deterministic outcomes. So there are only so many things I can change to get the astronaut to take different paths, especially because the time is limited. So you can only take a set number of different paths. Set number of different paths. And that really limits the options. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just not the kind of puzzle game I really enjoy. I enjoy more like those open puzzle games like Infinity Factory, where you can place a bunch of tiles and they interact very differently every time you change them a little bit, and stuff like that. So I prefer those kind of games, but I like playing around with those closed puzzle games for a while as well. I'm just not completing them usually. So I like, or I enjoy trying them out, figuring out how their mechanics work, and play them for a while. And then as soon as the levels get too complicated, I usually get bored of them, and it just becomes tedious for me to solve the levels. It's not fun anymore at that point. But that's just a personal preference by me. I know that there are a lot of people out there who like those kind of puzzle games, and I think this is a pretty good one. It has some really good level designs. It's not too easy. Yeah, the levels are fairly challenging, but not super hard. The bonus levels are a little bit more tricky. So I think it has a pretty good difficulty curve. And as I said, the level design is pretty good. The UI, or the game design in general, looks pretty cool. I like the art style. The UI, as mentioned, is good, if not flawless. And the option menu is pretty okay as well, except for the key rebinding thingy. That would be good. Or in general, show me the key bindings in the first place. That would be important. So yeah, the biggest question mark I have about this game is, why is this not available on mobile phones? Like, it's a perfect fit. It works on a small screen. It works with touch controls. You can play it in short bursts. It doesn't require a powerful GPU. And on top of that, the developer of the game, their previous game, is actually a mobile game. So I'm really confused that this game is not actually gonna be on mobile. It's just gonna release on Steam. Maybe it's coming to mobile later, who knows, but it's not going to be on mobile on release, which is really, really weird to me, because it looks like a perfect fit for a phone game. Anyway, if you're interested in it, it's called Causality. It's gonna release on the 2nd of February. The link is in the description below to the Steam page, so you can get it there if you want. I'm TH Pine. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe. I cover various different games, usually looking for the ones with interesting and unique mechanics. Thanks a lot for watching, have fun, and see you next time.